roll call way of doing this. I'll call out the names I see and that I've got recorded, but if we miss anybody, then I'll have you come back and add to it. So from the PAG side of the house, we've got Crystal, Jeff, Sonia, Josh, Paul Casertano, Dave Mitchell, Gabe, myself, Hinsu, and Jeanette. That represents from our side. The committee members, I've got Paul Burton from Sahuarita, Dion from Marana, Francisco from DTM, Greg Orsini from DTM, Jose Rodriguez from Oro Valley, Lauren Fechtow out of Pima County DOT, Yao from U of A, Jay Gomes from ADOT, make sure I didn't miss anybody, and Richard Nassy as well. And then I just saw Michelle Montanino joined in. The only one up there that I don't recognize is I see a number for a 382 2600. If you don't mind, if you could tell us, let us know who you are, identify, and give us an introduction.
Hey, Rick, that's me, Dion Swartz. I dial in because I don't have a microphone on my computer.
Oh, fantastic. Good. Thanks for clarifying, Dion. Appreciate it. And I saw Blake just joined in.
Hi, Rick. Cheryl Hewley.
Cheryl, fantastic. Thank you for joining in. Did I miss anybody else, or does anybody else come in as I was recapping? Okay. Hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and jump into that. I think gets our attendance, gets that covered. The next item I would like to cover is the in-kind reporting. As you know, we've been tracking this. This is something we've been doing all along, and we're still managing to do this in a virtual world. So our regional planning efforts are enhanced by recording the time that gets donated by volunteers, participants, and all that stuff. And we collect that so that we're able to pursue out matching grants, federal dollars, things like that. Is anybody in the group paid for in this activity through federal dollars? To my recollection, nobody is. Hearing none to confirm that. We're able to take an evaluation and estimate the time and contribution that's needed for this. So we'll take care of making sure this is all squared away and captured for our in-kind contributions on that. Because as you guys know, and as a closing statement, any time spent working on these initiatives, programs, or projects are eligible for those matching type funds. So it's a benefit to the organization all around. So with that, I think we got it covered. Our first item up on the agenda, and if you remember back about a year ago, Paul and Dave had come and given us an overview of the safety performance measure projections. So it's that time of year again. This is going to be going to the TPC next week. So we asked Dave if he would come back, give an updated presentation, share all this information, and go through this again. This is an action item. So following Dave's presentation, any clarification questions, then we will be asking to take action on this item. So Dave, with that, the floor is yours, my friend.
Good morning. Thank you. Crystal, do I have access to your presentation? Okay, there we go.
Try requesting that one more time, Dave. I was having a problem on this end. I apologize.
No worries. I just tried again. Okay, there we go. Thank you very much. Are you guys able to see me on video as well? I should have all that running. Good morning. My name is David Mitchell, Senior Transportation Planner for PAG. Today I'm bringing forth the ADOT's state safety projections for 2021. This is an annual exercise. It's a federal requirement. As Rick mentioned, Paul and I brought this last year, pretty much the same time frame. And so what I'd like to do is get into it and talk about basically an overview of what we'll cover in this meeting in addition to the safety projections. We'll go over the RMAP safety targets that we've set. It's a good idea to review those annually since those are annual reports that come out, and then we have the annual exercise to do the federal FAST Act projections. that's item number 2. It's an action item. I'll be requesting your support to move this through the committee process for adoption by regional council. And then there are 2, in addition to safety projections, there are 2 other performance areas that have some revised projections for year 2022. And we'll go over those as well. First, let's get into the RMAP safety targets. Safety for the PAG region in terms of our policy and planning documents are laid out here on the screen. We've got some adopted vision, an adopted vision and a goal in our strategic transportation safety plan. We are working together towards 0 deaths. Everyone gets home alive. That's kind of our vision, or that is our vision. Additionally, we have a numerical goal set to try and reduce the number of fatalities and serious injuries on our roadways by 7 to 10% every 5 years. Now, that's not a deadline. That doesn't mean that after 5 years from setting this goal that expires. That's implied that we apply that principle to our TIP and when we program projects that we're trying to reduce the number of safety accident-related deaths and injuries on our roadways. And then finally, we have an adopted safety goal in our long-range plan, the RMAP, and that is to integrate Vision 0 into all levels of transportation planning. So as you can see, as a region and as an MPO, we are striving to set to reduce the number of fatalities significantly for the region, in addition to serious injuries. These are the actual safety targets that we adopted in the RMAP. This was a plan adopted in 2016, and it's for an outlook by year 2045. So this is what the community has adopted for its long-range objectives or long-range targets. We want to see a reduction by 25% in total fatalities and serious injuries, a 45% reduction in the rates of such. In addition, there are specific targets set for pedestrian and bicycle fatalities and serious injuries, and those are reductions of 33% and 70% as shown. So these are the targets that we as an agency track towards to measure the achievement of our long-range goals. This is something that was also carried into the RMAP update and will continue to be applied to any of our TIP documents that we adopt. I mentioned the RMAP update that was published, produced last fall and approved by Regional Council. These are the current trends of our performance measures. So like I mentioned, we are tracking to a 2045 target. And based on that target and our current data, this is how we are currently performing. It is concerning to see that we have a lot more in the getting worse category, and you can see there's 8 of them there. 8 of the 13 of them are getting worse, and 11 of the 13 are not on track, as you can see here. An update from the RMAP update is the fatality rate has been added to the getting worse. We had been behind pace, but as the 2020 data has now become available, we are able to kind of see where we were able to update the data. So now let's go ahead and get into safety projections. But before I do, is there anybody has any questions related to the RMAP safety targets that we've adopted and how we use those in our planning practices? Okay, if there's no questions, we'll get into the safety projections for 2021. These were set by ADOT and they are related to the FAST Act. The FAST Act is a continuation of MAP 21 legislation, which set aside safety performance in addition to other performance goal areas to improve our roadways nationwide. They're national goals. And the federal measures are used to track the performance towards those goals. Since 2018, like I mentioned, this is an annual exercise every year since ADOT has established these projections. Now, the FAST Act defines these projections as targets. And so that's why we're getting into some of the details in this meeting, because there's a lot of confusion between the terminologies of PAG use of projections, the state's use of projections, and then the federal use of the word targets. So what I want to make clear is that in RMAP, we have established targets. Those are long-range things that we have set to achieve over a long period of time. The projections are what we see using existing historical data, so past data from the past to use projections for a short-term or 1 or 2 year forecast ahead. So that's how targets and projections are being used. So if you see the terminology in the federal lingo, they're saying targets, we're speaking towards our projections. And these are based on realistic data. They are not meant to be ambitious, such as a Vision Zero policy or have you. And I want to reiterate that today we will be taking an action or looking to take an action related to state FAST Act projections. I got into this already. Here's another review of target versus projection. And then here is a kind of what it means to have safety performance in the FAST Act reporting world. Last year on August 31st, ADOT established their 2021 safety projections. The federal requirements are for all MPOs to either adopt or establish their own safety projections within 180 days. We don't see any reason why we should go against the state projections. In fact, it's ADOT's recommendation that we do so. They already are using our data, have already accessed the same information related to the highway performance. So it's really, the methodology that they're using is not much different than what we would be using. The only difference may be the VMT calculations used in establishing rate, but outside of that, methodology is pretty much on point, and when we have full recommendation by ADOT to adopt their targets. And that is also PAG's staff's recommendation, is to adopt the 2021 safety projections. And we're seeking regional council approval to do so. So these are the projections. There are 5 performance measures as listed. Fatalities. This is a combination of all automobile, pedestrian, and bicycle and non-motorist fatalities on our all public roadways. The state projects a 1% increase over last year's numbers. For fatality rate, they don't see an increase or a decrease. That's based on number of fatalities statewide on based on VMT, and number of serious injuries. They are projecting a 4% decrease. Serious injury rate also a decrease at 6%, and then they are projecting a 1% increase in non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries, and those are your pedestrians and bicyclists. If you notice that they're color coded, the ones in green are colored such because they are in line with our RMAP goals and would help us to achieve our RMAP long range targets. The ones in red are not in support of our long range targets. And they're just for notation, just to note, but they do have no influence whatsoever on our planning activities or the measure of achievement towards our own personal targets. Here's a look at the information of the data related to fatalities. What we're seeing here is the 5-year history in the PAG region. So we can see that we've got a steady growth in number of fatalities year over year. There's a small marker on year 2020. That's our 5-year average. So that's what that's where we're currently performing. The bar over year 2021, this is applying the statewide projection to the PAG's current or last year's total 2020. Now I'd like to point out that the 2020 crash data that I'm using is still preliminary. It's not official until July 1st this year. It is accessible through ADOT. What may cause a change are sometimes serious injuries may turn into fatalities, errors are found in reports. Different things are basically updated. Most of the information the crashes are already in the system. It's just that some of the data gets revised. And usually the cutoff is by the end of the fiscal year for that. So this is how we are performing in number of fatalities with the ADOT projection applied. We'll do the same thing for fatality rate. This is how we are performing. The last 3 years, we've seen a very steep increase. This is one of the causes why we've seen a change in the status from the RMAP update until through today's presentation. Receiving the 2020 data has really revealed that we are not performing well in this region. The ADOT projection for 2021 is shown here on the right. It's a 0% increase, so they're projecting for us to remain unchanged in the rate. Number of serious injuries. This is how the region is performing. This is again on all public roadways, and these are in a steady decline. I would like to point out all these. I've marked a baseline or a baseline performance. That is the value that we recorded during the original RMAP and from 2016. So we've been tracking the data since that baseline value. ADOT projects for the region will drop under 400 total serious injuries for the year. That's a 4% decrease. And applying the ADOT projection to the serious injury rate, we see that it continues the downward trend that the PAG region is experiencing. And finally, a look at the pedestrian and bicycle fatalities and serious injuries on our roadways. It's hard to establish a year-over-year trend, but we can see a steady increase since we adopted the RMAP 2045 baseline. ADOT projects that we will see a 1% increase over that. And the projections they have are applied statewide. So they don't favor or discount any region based on data. They're applying for all regions nationwide. And this is what it would be if we were to apply that projection to our 2020 data. So that wraps up with the safety projections. I'm going to quickly go over the projections for the other two categories of performance measures. Those are informational items only, and then we'll come back and we'll take a vote on the safety projections. But before I do I have any questions on the safety data? Does anybody want to go back and look at any other slides that I had shown up? Okay, very good. There are two other categories for FAST Act performance measures, and they are for infrastructure condition, that's your pavement condition and your bridges, your bridge decks. And then there's the FAST Act system reliability measures, and those are related to travel times and reliability measures for freight on the interstates and the NHS networks. The pavement and bridge conditions, there in 2018, ADOT set 4-year projections for the conditions of pavement and bridge surface areas. In October of that year, PAG adopted those projections into perpetuity. So that's why there's no action required of us at this time. However, the FAST Act allowed for states to revise their 4-year projections at their mid-performance period, and that was this year, or 2020, I should say. And they did that to 2 of the pavement condition projections. And so we're just here to review those with you so that we are fully in the know of everything. Again, there's no action required of PAG on these. There are 6 different measures that are being tracked. The values that you see here, that is the projection that ADOT has for year 2022. The numbers on the right-hand side that are kind of crossed out, those are the values that had existed before they made the revisions last year. So previously we had adopted a 48% level of interstate pavement in good condition. They have reworked some of their data and have set a more conservative target of 44% for that measure. Likewise, they changed the pavement for the NHS network, that's not including the interstates, a more conservative number. We had adopted a 31% projection, and they revised that to 28%. To help put that into perspective, I'm going to show how the PAG region is performing in those performance measure categories and show that compared to the state 2022 projection. For interstate pavement, on the left is our good condition, and on the right is the poor condition. We are performing very well in both categories, well above the state projections, or better than the state projections, depending on your perspective. It's important to note that only 1.3% of our roads, that's only slightly over 100 miles of roads, are on the interstate within our region. So it's a very small portion of our road network. This is the pavement for the non-interstate NHS. We are about right on par with state average with good condition pavements on that road network. However, we are performing not so well on the non-interstate NHS. There is a project on ADOT is beginning really soon on Miracle Mile up Oracle Road that will help relieve some of this issues that we see in this performance. Again, it's a very small portion of our road network, and so that one project will have a significant impact on this type of data. But it's just good to know, to have an idea of how the state performance measures and projections apply to the PAG region. Here we're looking at the bridges. We're performing right about on par with state averages or state projections for the PAG region. And these are only bridges on the NHS network, not all public bridges. That's a little bit more than half. If we look at the poor condition, you can see that we have experienced a really successful change in performance, and that's due to some of the interstate work at INA and on the East Corridor, starting at Davidson Canyon and coming in to Vail. A lot of those roads, bridges in that area have been resurfaced, and ADOT's focus on rehabilitation rather than and preservation rather than first asset management. They are addressing a lot of bridges that are in poor condition. So that's why we're seeing a huge drop here. And we'll probably continue to see that number hover below state projections for quite some time. Again, because we have a very small network here. And those are for the infrastructure. Now we'll get into the reliability projections. Same type of process went, these were packaged together when we adopted the state projections for infrastructure. We did the same for system reliability. That was, again, in 2018, and we did that in perpetuity. And then last year, ADOT revised just one of the 2022 projections, and there is no action of PAG, but this will just be an information item. They project a reduction in travel time reliability for freight on the interstates. They've adjusted their truck travel time index. So this is a ratio of travel times between a 20-minute trip in free flow versus a 20-minute trip in rush hour or peak hour. You see a small increase there. And that may be due to perhaps a lot of construction projects, could be the state's growth. Maybe there's a lot more freight movement through the state, but the ADOT has decided that they have better data than what they had in 2018 and have revised that projection. We'll look into how the PAG region performs in terms of freight movement, but there were no revisions to their other travel time measures, and those are involving interstate, NHS, and all vehicles. There's one other measure that doesn't apply to the region, but is important to just review in case it comes up in discussion elsewhere. There are CMAQ performance projections. There are no CMAQ projects in the PAG region, so therefore we aren't really participating in the achievement of these projections. But the state does see this amount of reductions in kilograms per day for these 5 emissions from vehicles statewide. Here's how the PAG region is performing for freight movement. We've seen a steady and slow increase in the travel time index as shown here. In 2015, we acquired data for our freight plan, and then we started tracking the data set again for federal FAST Act measures in 2017. So that's why you see a jump here in the data. But regardless, we do see a slow increase that doesn't seem to contradict what the state is seeing and projecting. Here's how travel time reliability is on the NHS. On the left is the interstate segment, and the right is the non-interstate segment. The PAG region performs exceptional in both areas. And compared to state projections, we will continue to help bring that statewide average up. Again, because we have a very small network on the NHS and interstate systems. So to recap, the PAG staff is requesting the recommendation to PAG Regional Council to adopt the 2021 state safety projections. I have them listed here. There is no further reporting requirement other than just saying that we've adopted the projections. And this is something that we've done since 2018 and have adopted every year. And if there are any questions or any need for discussion, we can go ahead and I'll hand it back over to you, Chair, and you can help facilitate. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well done. And thanks a million, Dave. Appreciate that. Before we move into any kind of motion, are there any questions, anything you want Dave to clarify, anything you want to go back and revisit that he presented and needs to expand on?
Good morning, Rick. This is Jeff King. I had
Jeff, how are you doing today?
Doing good. I apologize. I joined late. I was in another meeting. And as I joined, David, you were going through the numbers and I didn't catch, and you probably said it before I joined. The numbers you were looking at, the PAG numbers, when you were comparing them to the state, was that your 5-year rolling average?
Well, the safety data by default is reported in 5-year averages. So yes, those were 5-year averages for the safety figures. I assume those are the ones you were speaking of?
Yes,
the other
yes.
One,
yeah. I jumped in late, and I know there was some confusion elsewhere on related to that. So thank you.
Yes, and I'm sorry, I did not clarify that. Yeah, the annual values that we have are 5-year averages for each year. In addition to that, I did show another 5-year average. We're taking a 5-year average of a 5-year average. That was just more to see if you were to see the rate of change or the comparison of that to our RMAP baseline is really how that's useful.
Okay, thanks, Jeff and Dave. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, this is an action item. So at this time, I would like to entertain a motion from anybody that we will be asked to recommend. We are not in an approval capacity at this working group level. It does have to come out of regional council, but that we recommend adoption of the Arizona Department of Transportation statewide transportation safety projections. This time I'd like to entertain a motion.
So moved.
Is that Francisco?
Francisco.
Francisco motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second. This is Paul.
Paul B. second. All righty. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of adoption, or of recommending adoption, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, Francisco.
Anybody else? You can
Cheryl
simply
Healy.
unmute.
Jay Gomes here. Aye.
Okay. Anybody opposed? Okay, I've got a unanimous approval on that. Thank you all very much. Dave, thank you very much for a stellar presentation. Appreciate the update. Thank you for clarifying and walking us through all that.
Thank you, Rick, and thank you, members of the committee.
Perfect. Okay, Crystal, we'll turn it back over to you and let you navigate through the rest of the agenda and set the stage up for the next item, if you would. Okay, safety activities. This is the next item up. The rest of the agenda, I maintained a basic status quo from what we've been doing just to kind of catch everybody back up to speed. It's been obviously a while since we've all met. I didn't want to bring any of the big heavy duty stuff to us for the first meeting out of the gate, although there will be bigger items coming later in the spring. So Gabe, I wanted to have you jump in if you would and give an update on the safety activities and efforts we have underway. floor is all yours, my friend.
All right, thanks, Rick, and great job, Dave. That was a great presentation on all that. So good on you. Good morning, everybody. Good to see some of your faces and at least most of your names. Yeah, hope you all are doing well. This will be just a quick little update. Just wanted to let everybody know basically two things. One of them is on the road safety assessment front. We do have a couple of design RSAs that are coming down the pike, one more quickly than the other one, and that's on Valencia Road. We're going to be doing design RSAs, which will allow us to do the road safety assessments remotely. As I'm sure most of you know, usual RSAs, we're hopping in a van together. We're all huddled around a table together. We're doing all these different activities and mingling quite a bit. So that's not an option for us in this case. So we are taking advantage of the remote potential nature of design RSAs to get on some impending RTA projects. So we have grant 5 and 6, which will be probably closer to May or June. And, but we are at 30% design plans right now with Valencia, and we'll be able to take a crack at that. So that's going to be taking place in March. Also on the Safety Explorer front, we do have continuing updates that we are digging into. We're hoping that in the next few months, we'll be able to show you some more about that and to open that up to a wider audience, but we're excited about what's coming down the pike on that one. So as far as generalized safety activities, that's about it from this end, but I'm happy to entertain any questions, or if anybody wants to reach out to me in an email or offline in any capacity, just let me know.
Fantastic, Gabe. Thank you so much. Any questions for Gabe on either of those items that he covered?
Is Blake raising his hand?
Yeah. Do you can you let us know what your capacity is for I don't know what the word is, non-design RSEAs?
Sorry, Blake. What my capacity?
What's your capacity for just typical RSAs?
For typical RSAs, well, it would depend. I guess it would depend on what you mean, Blake.
I just was wondering what your capacity is. Like, you've done several for the city in the past, and sure. I understand you're working on design RSAs now, but I guess conventional RSAs.
I guess we would be open to it, but that's with a lot of caveats. It'd have to really be, we've got a lot of policies in place where we're not able to, like I said, to jump in a van with a group of folks or what have you. But if you'd like to talk one-on-one, Blake, I'm happy to. If you have some things, if you have some need, yeah, I'm happy to try and work with that and make something happen.
Okay, well, thanks.
Yeah, Blake, I'll jump in because I think I understood where you were going with it. We're focusing on the design ones just because those are next up on the horizon, but we have not done anything to the program itself. We've only, and as Gabe says, we're only making modifications to incorporate safety protocol as a result of COVID activities. So there's nothing that we've held back on, changed, or modified as far as our overall approach to it. It's just making sure we can still adapt through the restrictions. Does that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. Yeah, I was going to say, if you've got anything on that, or for any other jurisdictions, our RSA program is still in full swing, still in full-blown operational mode. So if you need anything, reach out to Gabe directly.
Yep.
And then given, obviously, the circumstances, situations, and restrictions, we can see what we need to do for that. But that's still a full-service activity we offer.
We also check oil and change tires. So.
And on occasion, we do handle turbite as well as painting. So,
Nope. Yeah, no windows, though. No,
yep, we draw the lines. Any other questions for Gabe on safety activities? Okay, hearing none. Crystal, next item. Traffic signal communications. These have been things we've been having regular updates on it. And I reached out in advance specifically because I know that Francisco and Michelle from the county and city, or city and county respectively, had been offering up the bulk of the updates, but then we'll also allow it for anybody else. So Francisco, why don't you go first and tell us where you're at, what you got going on, if you don't mind.
Rick, this is Dion. I'm sorry. I had to unmute myself and I wasn't able. On that previous item, PAG Safety Activities, Did Gabe want to give us an update on the PAG Safety Explorer? I see that on the agenda.
Well, beyond just giving you an update that there's going to be some Safety Explorer new functionality and activities that are going to be coming down the pike. Yeah, nothing beyond that. We don't have anything to reveal today, but we are working on some exciting changes, and we're happy to reveal those to folks as they're ready to be unveiled.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, there was a delay because of my muting issue, but thank you very much.
No worries. We can talk about Safety Explorer all day. I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
I was going to say, my apologies, Dion. Thanks for jumping in. Did that get to your question okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Francisco, why don't you go ahead and jump into the next item and give us a start, give us an update on what activities you've had going on in the signal communications activities and realm.
Good morning, everybody. I guess I got 2 bullets. Just talk generally about everything going on. So the city of Tucson, well, the RTDN, as it was for the region, still whatever pieces of hardware being used by any jurisdiction are still under maintenance. A lot of people have abandoned that network, but we still have the contract for maintenance on the ones that are being used. The city of Tucson has deployed successfully the Verizon wireless routers. They've been rock solid. The most we have had is one location, the antenna was vandalized, and it's one of those short cabinets, so very prominent, the antenna sticking out, but only once. So I think it was a really good solution we picked. The communications to the city of Tucson signals is right now at 100%. We have some locations that don't have communications because it's part of that next bullet, fiber installation, and the fiber is all on the ground, and we're just now finishing the connections or configuring the electronic equipment. But all 100% of the traffic signals in the city have communications. Not the Hawks. Some of the Hawks have it, but all traffic signals, vehicle traffic signals, do have communications. That's my report.
Hey, Francisco, if I can have you clarify, when you say you've got all traffic signals on the wireless system, does that mean every single thing is on wireless and then you're adding fiber to supplement it, or there's still stuff that's not on? I'm missing that.
No, we have maybe now we're close to 80 or 90 locations that are connected via fiber. The rest are in a combination of Verizon wireless routers or the WiMAX RTDN, but not everything is wireless. Some locations are fiber.
Oh, okay. So let me see it a different way. Is 100% of the city's signal system now in communication, either through Wi-Fi, WiMAX, or wireless?
Correct. That's correct.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Not Wi-Fi, fiber. My bad. I'm sorry. Okay. Any questions for Francisco on his information and the update on the city communications?
Can you hear me? This is Dion.
Yep. Got you, Dion. Go ahead.
I see on the agenda, City of Tucson fiber work activities. Did Francisco have some more information on that?
Well, I don't know if you want to talk about specific projects, but that might be in there because we were installing fiber along Grant. We did the Grant phase 1 and 2. That fiber is in the ground. We're just configuring electronics. The fiber was installed on the Sabino Canyon signals from Tanque Verde to Cole. That fiber is just being terminated. And then we installed some fiber from Fire Station 22 to Valencia and Alvernon. And that's going to connect us all the way to Valencia and Kolb. And of course, Valencia and Kolb installed fiber to all 5 signals there. So that's all in the ground. We're just now at a place where we're configuring the electronics or finishing some of the fiber termination.
And to add to that, Francisco, you guys are doing this in conjunction with the big capital project. So when a major capital job goes out, that's when you're doing the install on these big main routes, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Dion, does that get to your question?
Yeah, just looking for that update. Thank you.
Okay, you got it. Thank you. Okay. Thanks, Francisco. Appreciate it. Michelle, you had previously shared information on what the county was doing. So could you provide an update?
Sure. We have gotten all of our signals connected through cellular using the MyoVision equipment. So we are 100% connected to the MyoVision platform as well as the MaxView platform, I believe. So everything is connected. Again, not the Hawks, but all of our traffic signals are connected at this point. And things have been going well.
Okay.
Michelle, there's no plans to connect the Hawks, right?
Probably not, unless we see it from a operational perspective. Like there's a couple of them that are pretty close together where there could be some benefit to coordination and things like that, where that might make some sense, but.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to what you were saying, Francisco, you only had experienced one issue, and that was a vandalization. Michelle, you're experiencing basically no issues on that. So it's safe to say everything's working as intended, correct? For both of you guys?
That is correct.
Perfect. Okay. Been very successful.
Hey, Michelle, I got a quick question. This is Paul. So you're using the MyoVision to pull your signals back to MaxView, is that correct?
Correct.
And that's working well?
Mm-hmm. It has been.
Terrific. Thank you.
Yep.
I have a question for Michelle too. Michelle, so it sounds like you are using both MaxView and MyoVision. Can you talk about the benefits of having both?
Honestly, I have not been using the MaxView side of it very much lately, mostly because I have swapped computers and haven't gotten the VPN and all that stuff reinstalled. But I know Tim and Jesus both use it heavily still. I think they've been finding that one, the integration with the other signals on the regional map is helpful. Being able to get information and sharing that information back and forth, I think is important to maintain. I also think that the MyoVision isn't as sophisticated yet in their alerting system, and I think we've still found that the MaxView alerts for some of the signal trouble, like signal and flash, things like that, are more timely than what we were getting out of MyoVision. So it's something that we're working with MyoVision on trying to improve from their side, but I think MaxView is still serving us better in that regard.
Thank you, Michelle. And just for the benefit of this audience, this town of Marana is looking at also getting its own MaxView system. We've got a fair amount of fiber. We got fiber on Tangerine, down Twin Peaks, on Ina Road, Cortera Road, and Thornydale Road, which is not yet connected. So we're looking at maybe over a 5-year period, getting all of our signals connected and on a MaxView system, and then we could do center-to-center communications with the regional system.
That was going to be the nature of my question in terms of center to center. I've kind of lost track of that. Is that where it needs to be? Are there still steps that need to be taken to ensure that the city MaxView and the county MaxView are behaving properly together and data's getting transferred from one to the other, or is it pretty seamless at this point already?
The county is still on the city's MaxView server right now.
Okay. But you were looking to migrate off at one point. Is that still the plan?
We had, when we had looked at it the last time, they were in the process of upgrading the MaxView server to new requirements and platforms, and we haven't really picked it up since then. Okay. We recently got in touch with AM Signal reached out to us asking the question if we were still interested, and so we're still having those internal discussions.
Got it. And then Dion, you said that Marana is looking to stand up its own MaxView. Are you currently using ADOT's license at this point? Do I remember that correctly?
Yeah, we were, before I started with the town, there was an IGA with ADOT to be part of their max view system. And there were technical difficulties that were kind of hammered out while I was here. And then, but the technical difficulties continue because there's configuration issues, and Jay can probably speak to this as well, that were bogging down the system. Okay. And so we never really actually were able to use it effectively because of those issues. And then simultaneously, ADOT decided that they want to divest themselves of Marana's signals on MaxView. And of course, the option remains that we could be a part of the city MaxView system, or the one that's hosted by the city. But there were so many unknowns about the communications elements. And there's a certain amount of attractiveness to having the autonomy of having your own system. And we have really good fiber backbone here at the town that without having a MaxView system, it's kind of hard to troubleshoot it and know where you need to beef up or create some connections. So we felt that we're able to do it better in-house than to be relying on another agency. But that's not to say we don't want to be part of the region. And I'm told by the vendor, because we haven't purchased it yet, we're still looking at the specifications and the quote from AM Signal. But I'm told that, oh yeah, they do the center to center, but I haven't actually, the vendor may say one thing, the guy who's selling you the stuff may say one thing. But, the proof is when you actually have it installed, what that looks like.
Great. Yeah, well, I guess if I could put a request into each of you as you're looking at standing up your own instance of this, do keep your eyes on the center to center issues, and if there's anything that we can help with or any awareness we should have. It's no surprise to you. We want all of your systems to be able to function seamlessly so that there's not abrupt transition from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, as you guys do as well. And if we can help do that or accomplish that, just let us know how we might be able to help that initiative. I think DJ
just wanted to add one thing. I guess our IT department is looking at acquiring a MaxView license of our own because of communication issues, trying to utilize the city's instance of MaxView. Couldn't get those straightened out, so IT department is looking at doing that. So we're in discussions with AM Signal as well. And I would assume that as long as it's not going to cost us more, we'd be happy to do a center to center communications off it as well. That's all.
Quick question, Jay, I see you got your hand raised. I'll come back to you in just a second. Dion, you mentioned a 5-year, you're looking for it to take 5 years, or you're going to be starting it in 5 years. I want to make sure I wrote that down right.
Yeah, I've got a 5-year plan that actually starts this year. It turns out that some money that was held in contingency because of the pandemic was released, so I'm getting a head start on my 5-year plan. And this year, I'm hoping to be able to stand up a MaxView server and buy some radios to increase that connectivity.
Perfect. Thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome.
Okay, Jay, I saw you had your hand up. If I missed it before, I apologize. What did you want to jump in and offer?
Yes, please. So yeah, thank you, Dion. Yeah, we were just having some network configuration issues that we're trying to sort through. We're doing a fiber conduit audit in the PAG region right now. We're expecting that to take about 3 months. We started about 3 weeks ago. And so I think since the last time we've met, and I to update the group, ADOT has switched to MaxView on a statewide level. And that being said, all of the signals we had here were migrated up to Phoenix. We still do have the server running here, which does have the town of Marana and city of Tucson operated signals on the ADOT network. The goal will be to separate out all the fibers. I think the main issue being that it wasn't well organized for expanding the network, if you will. I think there's just a mix-up between the actual fibers themselves, right? So, you know, let's say we're all on fibers 1 through 4. Well, if we're gonna start doing center to center and configuring our network so that they can work independently, so that they can work together later, we just need to separate out how the fiber is utilized. And so I think in the long run, it's going to be a great plan. Just going to take some work to get it all figured out. Trying to think what else we can discuss. Been working with the county on utilizing interducts along I-10. I know the city's mentioned that as well, so we'll probably kick that off here in the near future. And I believe that's about all I have to update. You know, we have that SR-77 project from River to Calle Concordia where we're going to be installing street lighting. And so we'll get an additional conduit for that so we can put fiber in it when the project's done.
Okay, great. Paul, I see you raised your hand as well. I'll go ahead and call on you next. What you got?
I'd like to go back to Michelle real briefly. Michelle, you said there was some kind of latency with alarms coming through the MyoVision compared to MaxView. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
They are getting alerts both ways. The MaxView side is like instantaneous. The MyoVision side for some reason is sometimes, 5-10 minutes later. It's not a huge deal, but Tim's pretty on it, so he likes the instantaneous much better.
I was going to say he's noticed it then.
Yeah, he's noticed it. So, and he gets both alerts to his phone, so he can see when one pings and then the other one comes in. So,
right, and 10 minutes is actually fairly significant in terms of like a signal.
Rolling a truck and mobilizing, and yeah.
Like you say, MyoVision is working on that.
It is. Yeah, they are. We also use the MaxView side to help us with some of the controller database management. That is a function that is not available in MyoVision as well. At least not now.
Paul, did that get you your question?
Yeah, it did. And the reason I'm asking is right now I don't have communications with my system, with my signals, but MyoVision seems to be a way to get them up and operational quickly. And so we're taking a hard look at that for over the next 5 years, upgrading all of our signals. And since we don't have a MaxView system and aren't funded for it, any kind of functionality at all is better than what I've got now.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't had any problems with the communication itself. It's been really good.
Terrific. Thank you.
Yep.
Jay, I saw your hand go back up again. What do you got?
Thank you. Yeah, there was recently, I don't know, I think it was last week, there was a webinar for Intolite's or Q-Free's new kinetics system, but I was not able to attend. And I figured that someone in this group was probably able to attend and maybe they'd be able to have a brief on that.
This is Dion. I did attend that webinar. What my take home is that they're kind of rebranding the MaxView with this new kinetics terminology, in which MaxView is like a component within this larger umbrella of modules that make up the kinetics system. And what they said was that MaxView that's being sold and put on servers today basically has all that same functionality that is part of the kinetics system. It's already there. So that was kind of my issue of concern. I'll check my notes, see if there's anything else in here.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I was wondering if that was how they were going to roll out MaxView 2.0 and with the whole center-to-center capabilities and whatnot, but I haven't talked to the vendor yet about it.
Yeah, I didn't take any notes, so I have nothing else to offer on that.
That is so unlike you, Dion.
I know, right?
No, just kidding. Thank you, though.
Josh, what would you like to jump in with?
I was just curious, Michelle, the MyoVision communications that work so well for you, is that a Verizon card or?
It is a Verizon card. Yep.
Okay, so it's similar to what the city has stood up with their Verizon connections. Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions from the group for any of the folks that spoke or any of the updates that they shared? Okay, seeing none. The last item up, and I want to give, between Gabe and myself, want to give a very, very short update just because we're not quite there yet to unveil it. You remember, Jesus, now it's probably been a good couple of years. We had initiated here at PAG, we've been given permission from our executive staff that we were going to do what I termed as a deep dive into traffic signal operations and bike ped safety. We had picked specific items and targeted aspects to focus on that were being discussed, thrown around here in the region, or were getting a lot of prevalent attention. So we had gone through that effort. A number of you jumped in, volunteered to help out working on that, research, investigation, evaluation, all that good stuff. I'm happy to say that the reports have been drafted. They've gone through internal, mainly internal reviews to focus on making sure we stay within our conformance, within our PAG, basically what our boundaries are, making sure we stay in our lane. Because we don't jump into operational things, we're not necessarily in a position to offer up recommendations, advice, guidance. That would be kind of overstepping or getting out of our lane of, hey, you really ought to do X. Instead, we're making sure they focus on, here's a summary of the information found, here's the conclusions that others have run into, and basically synopsizing everything in a very effective white paper. So we've gone through and done all that technical evaluation internally. We're going through our last communications review on both of these big documents. The intent is to bring them forward to all of you. Future meeting, I'm hoping right now, I'm targeting April. Put a pin in that because I'll come back to it. That in advance of the April meeting, we would distribute those out there for your review, comments, feedback. The idea, what we're looking for is there anything technically missing? What your own personal perceptions, opinions, thoughts, or how you choose to utilize them, they're completely at your discretion. We are not going to step over that line at all, but we want to make sure we've gotten everything technically, fundamentally, solidly evaluated. So coming back right now, because it is going through a technical review, I do anticipate that taking the next few weeks to do that and firm that up and make the necessary revisions that we would need to from our communication sections. Then we would get that out in advance of the meeting, get comments back, and then have the meeting serve as a forum for any kind of discussion on that. So along those lines, I don't anticipate right this second a March meeting. If you could block out our normal standing time of the second Thursday of the month in April, 9 to 11. If you don't mind blocking that out and holding that for the time being. I'll stop there. Gabe, did you have anything else you wanted to jump in and add to that? I know it's a very short, sweet, and it's not really content driven, but it's more of a progress update. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I think you pretty much summed it up, Rick.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just where we're at in the process of getting this through. As far as like the technical content, the subject matter itself, I feel like that's been pretty well gone over, researched, vetted with technical staff. So.
Yep. The folks that have jumped in and helped with this effort, I will never be able to thank you enough. It was a big ordeal. It was a lot of work. It's a lot of discussion, heavy duty stuff that's not necessarily all fully black and white. And it's definitely, you know, the pandemic could not have come at a worse time because I had every intention. Gabe and I were all set to roll this out last March. We even had a meeting draft agenda ready to go, but boy, oh boy, when the hammer hit, obviously, as everybody saw, it swung hard and has derailed us for roughly about a year. So I'm hoping that there hasn't been a whole lot that's evolved and changed in that year time frame. We've tried to stay on top of it as things have evolved, but do want to get that out to you. So then you as a jurisdiction, you as a partner will have that information to be able to use at your discretion. So any questions on that item? Obviously you heard Gabe's little comment as an iteration of that. Okay. Hearing none, that's our last agenda item. Like I mentioned, if you can pencil in and block out the second Thursday in April, we'll keep you posted on that, because the second item I will likely be bringing back for the group is an update on the RTA traffic signal funding category. That's going through some changes. They're still going through various committee reviews, so I'm not in a position to be able to bring anything forward as far as what that's going, because it may or may not change as the next few weeks progress. So once that kind of settles down, and I expect that will, then I'll be able to bring that forward, share that with you guys, and we'll be able to make any adjustments as needed. So with that, that concludes everything I've got on the agenda. Any final questions, thoughts, comments for the group? Otherwise, I think we're set and we're ready to adjourn, but I'll do one last round. Any hands up or anything from any of the group members?
Was that date you'd mentioned, Rick?
Give me 2 seconds. Second Thursday, I believe it's April 8th.
April, yeah. April 8th. Thank you.
From the PAG side of the house, Josh, Paul, Gabe, Sonia, Tiki, anybody else want to jump in? Anything I've glossed over? Dave, anybody want to jump in on anything you think I've missed or any updates you want to share?
This is Jeff King with Federal Highways. I just want to share, and I know there's a couple of the folks on the call that have already registered for the Designing for Pedestrian workshops. There's 2 of them. One is February 23rd through the 25th. It's 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon for 3 consecutive days. And then it'll be repeated in March, same dates, 23rd through the 25th. Just happens because of February, it ends up on the same dates. It's a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We had originally sent it out to those folks that participated in the step peer exchange and attended the Designing for Pedestrian Safety 101. I am sending out today to a broader stakeholder group. Some of you will receive that. If you don't, you're interested in attending that, please reach out to me. Gabe, I think I'll make sure that I send it to you again. Feel free to share that invite with any pedestrian stakeholders. Sure. One last thing, in the planning stages for, I think it's going to be the first week of April, but don't hold me to it because I haven't got confirmation yet. We're going to host a virtual 8-hour complete streets workshop. It's going to be high-level overview. We're going to use a similar format, 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, and it'll either go 2 days or 3 days. But currently we're looking at that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, first week of April. That should be confirmed this week, and I hope to put together an invite and get it sent out to all the stakeholders. That's it.
Good deal. Perfect. And thanks, Jeff. Okay. If there's nothing else from the rest of the group, Crystal, any final closing thoughts as a moderator? Anything else you want to pass along, or are we all good?
Nope, we are all good.
Fantastic. All right, gang. Thank you all very much. Appreciate the first run through. It's good seeing everybody after a year. I'll stay in touch, and hopefully we'll look forward to seeing you again here within the next couple of months. Take care. Be good, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.